Hello everyone, my name is T Hunter. If this is your first time coming to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back and thank you so much for coming back. As you can see, I am not alone today in this reaction video. I have a very special guest. Would you like to tell them your name, sir, and how we know each other?
Yeah. So I'm Young Hunter Jr. I'm blessed to be this beautiful woman's husband and all that good stuff, and I'm just honored to be featured on the channel.
Just glad to be in the service. Hallelujah. Okay, so we will jump right in. Today we're reacting to episode 15 from this current season of Married at First Sight, located in Texas. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Which couple should we go with first?
Let's see. I guess we can go ahead and hit Zack and Michaela.
Okay. You guys are used to hearing my thoughts, my opinions, my reactions, so I definitely don't want to take over. I do want to share the floor since I do have a guest, my husband. So what are your thoughts on this last episode? I guess starting with the meeting with Zack. He said he wanted to just meet one-on-one with Dr. Pepper, and she was like, oh, just let me mediate, and Michaela shows up.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that he was checked out, where even the first time they attempted to do it, he was definitely checked out. I think what kind of stood out to me was the reverse roles. If I kind of fast forward just a tad, they sort of traded places. Zack was more ready to have a closure conversation and Michaela was not, and that actually surprised me, the fact that he even put a gesture out there to keep trying like that, or even just for closure's sake to even do that. I thought that was commendable. I do feel that they both have some growing to do. I really do feel that there is a communication breakdown with them both, and I think that both points do need to be heard. But I guess they say to argue fair, or for lack of a better term, but to be able to hear the other person's thoughts, and I just feel like they both get caught up in their own feelings and they get in the way of themselves a lot of the times, watching it from the exterior point of view. And then I did want to bring up my point when it concerns to how we display our anger, and I did mention to my wife that I feel that there's a certain amount of grace that the opposite sex may get.
When you say opposite sex, who exactly are you referring to?
We're referring to Michaela, I think.
Okay, so women.
So women,
okay.
Women. I do feel that.
Let's make it plain. We don't want y'all coming for us in the comments. Well,
right.
Which one are you talking about?
Yeah, I do feel that there's a certain grace extension for women when it comes down to displaying anger, because I know that I expressed to her that if Zack showed any sort of anger where he was turning over tables or throwing things or kicking things, I think it would be a question of safety for not just Michaela, but it would be safety for everyone in the house. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of how that goes sometimes. So I was sort of glad to see that she was held accountable for those moments of damaging property, and we all have our limits, we're all human and all that, but I think that there's just a certain double standard where I just know that if that were Zack doing that same sort of thing, I don't think there would be a rush to grace. I don't think there would be a rush to find out what got him here, to just be like, yo, this dude is crazy, we need to get him out of here, film crew, you know what I'm saying? So that's just my own personal opinion of that matter. But however, I do hold them equally responsible for listening and be able to hear each other out, ultimately hear each other's hearts. And sometimes you can just get in your own way, so on both parties, and that's just kind of my feel.
I can definitely agree with that, and I'm glad that you brought that up like last weekend when we were talking about it, because me being a woman, And being a therapist, I can try to empathize and I can try to sympathize and try to understand, but I will never know what it's like to walk a day in a man's shoes where he can be triggered God knows how many times, not just my husband, but any man. And he is supposed to execute a certain level of discipline and self-control. So that if he even snaps a fraction of what we saw Michaela do at the height of her anger, I really feel like they would have stopped filming and it probably would have been one of those to be continued. They just would have shut everything down had it been Zack or any of the men at the ranch retreat. So I definitely wanted to put that out there. Sometimes it can be easy for, us to go into male bashing or sometimes women bashing. So I'm glad that we have an opportunity to say, no, both parties need to be held accountable for their behavior, good and bad.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it was hard in that first conversation.
Yeah.
Michaela said, Zack has no evidence of me reacting poorly towards him. And I was thinking, oh, no, girl, no. If he doesn't have it, Lifetime has it. Somebody had said that in one of the comments that I had read on another commentary video. I'm thinking, oh. Or it might have been Twitter, where they were saying, sometimes not just Michaela, but some of these people react as though they don't recognize that they're being filmed, whether the cameraman is right in your face or it's the surveillance cameras that are up in their apartments catching all of these things. And Dr. Pepper had said, yes, we get reports. And I was thinking, man, this is like being back in school. There's progress reports going out, and come on. Once those progress reports come out, like, the proof is in the grades. So everything that you are trying to pretend that you are not doing, but they show up in those reports, it is what it is. Like, there's only so much covering you can do until those receipts come out.
Yeah.
So, as for that second closure conversation, the back and forth was kind of hard to see. Because it's like, yes, I am rooting for marriage, healthy marriages, as I have stated in a previous review. So it's like, oh, well, maybe they can do their inner work and they can be great spouses to each other or to someone else should they decide to move on after decision day. However, Rome was not built in a day. Unresolved trauma, which can lead to very over-the-top reactions, that's not going to be resolved in one session, 2 sessions. That's not going to go away in one night.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's going to take some time. So while I want to be hopeful and I want to be optimistic, I have to also be realistic, not as a therapist, but just as a person in general, and even be personal with it. How much time has it taken me to break bad habits? Like, I heard someone say it takes 3 weeks to form a habit, so then another 3 weeks to break it. So even 3 weeks might seem like a very short period of time. So just imagine if these are responses that you've developed over the years, decades. That's going to take more than just one night, more than just 3 therapy sessions, more than just praying for 2 minutes for that stuff to start to turn around to where, oh, I can see this marriage working out. Let's stick with it. Let's keep going.
Yeah. A lot of inner work for both parties that needs to be done. He definitely has a lot of work to do when it comes to processing his emotions. And I can definitely say from personal experience, processing your emotions is like a whole nother skill set. It's something that you do have to constantly master. I don't think there's ever a there. I just think that there's always room for growth and finding that person that you can, grow with and kind of trim off those little rough edges together and continue to sharpen each other. So I don't think either one of them have a good anchor to pull from right now, in my honest opinion. So I think a lot of self-eval for the both of them. Speaking to a counselor, licensed therapist, someone who knows what they're doing, to be able to bring them to certain realizations and then put the work in to hopefully be in a mental state to be able to give, because if you're not at a certain place within yourself, I don't think you're going to be fit for anyone to begin to put yourself less and think of someone else more when you have so much core foundation work that you need to do. So,
absolutely. Any other thoughts on Zack and Michaela?
wish them the best. I really wish that they both, again, get the treatment, help that they both need to process through a lot of things that they've been through. And I think once they do so, I think individually they're going to be phenomenal. They're both phenomenal individuals, but they're definitely going to be more in a phenomenal position to be married to whoever, they choose.
And shout out to their villages. In the height of their arguments, when they have been spending nights apart, I am so thankful that Zack and Michaela have reached out to their siblings. And then they've even had like joint sibling conferences to try to work things through. So if Zack is feeling like Michaela was not hearing him, her sisters could jump in and say, okay, Kay, you know how you can get. And Zack, this is how things can be. So giving context, and then the brothers as well talking to Michaela like, okay, this is how Zack interprets love, or this is how he reacts if you are aggressive, or whatever the conversations might have been. So I'm glad that they both do have supportive siblings, but they're also keeping it real with them, as opposed to, don't talk to my sister like that, or don't talk to my brother like that. It's like, no, both sides are being held accountable when they run to their siblings.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I definitely agree.
So shout out to y'all, siblings. Y'all matter. Okay, next couple. We don't have to go in a necessarily specific order. I have notes here, so if you see me jotting, that's what this is.
Yeah,
referring to something, not jotting, because I already did the jotting. Okay.
Yeah, I guess we could hit kind of, bring a little dynamic wave to it. So we could hit Brett and Ryan.
Oh.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, wow.
Bring a little dynamics there,
Okay.
All the personality there is that Ryan has to offer. Lots of personality just oozing out of the camera that we experience. So he's one of those where it's like, you know what, that's a little too much. Let's just pull it back a little bit. Yeah, I could be chill, but there's dynamics to myself and my wife. I can definitely express a thought, and then something funny will come up, but I don't really get like a full rounded dynamic from it. That's just a personality. Everyone's different, you know what I mean? But I just will say that I think, as far as Ryan goes, I just wish that he would have been honest with her, from the get-go, like that moment that he felt that disconnect. That was an opportunity to bring things to the table. And I think the advantage, it goes both ways. I think it's an advantage to, when you're meeting someone for the first time, you kind of have like this blank slate, blank template, and you can take that as, let me express all my thoughts and communicate, and I don't have like a certain rapport with this person where I'm not overthinking how they might feel because of experience or something that may have happened. It's like, look, you got a blank canvas, like here's the time to talk, but I will counter myself and just bring some color to it and just say that it's not always easy telling people things that it's just not good news. There's never a good time for bad news. It's just bad news. And I just would have respected him a lot more to just be like, you're not gonna like what I'm about to say at all, so maybe we need to sit down, let me get you some lunch. I'm just not feeling this. The chemistry for me is just not there. I don't know what I'm looking for, and that's a big problem. I don't want to put that on you, and I really think that on decision day it's just going to be a no. And that would have put her in the right posture and position to, I don't know, go through the process how she needed to, instead of like this whole, maybe there's hope, and there never is hope in the end. And that's just really hard to watch, because I think that they're both dope people, and I think that Brett has a lot to offer, and it just sucked to not see her go into like a wife role how we can suspect she could, by having that chemistry with someone, and see other sides of Brett, her romantic side. And we were kind of just stuck with like, the ball's in your court, I'm feeling you, man, I like you, like, what do you want to do? So it's just hard to watch, and just a little disappointed, very disappointed in how this whole thing is playing out. And I'll leave the special situation that came up for the wife to give her thoughts on that.
Oh my gosh, Brett and Ryan. what has been so painful about watching them is it's one thing to be slow moving and it's another to be stagnant.
Yeah.
And because they don't want to hurt each other's feelings, they have been stagnant. They're not having these conversations of, do you like me? Are you feeling me? Is there something that I'm doing that maybe is not painting me in the best light? So it's hard for you to want to come closer to me, figuratively or literally speaking. And like I mentioned it in the last review that I just did, where Pastor Cal, or it might have been a couple of weeks ago, but Pastor Cal had told Brett, ask Ryan, when did he check out of this marriage?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a very difficult question because it's going to have a very difficult answer attached to it, especially if Ryan were to open up and say, I checked out on day 2, 3 of the honeymoon when I realized that you're a terrible flyer and you don't like huge sea monsters and I am a country boy. I am a nature boy at heart. So we can't do country naturistic things together. And that's a turnoff for me. So I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if that would have been easy for her to hear.
It is.
But it might have been easier had it been said. And it's like, okay, now I know exactly where you stand.
Yeah.
And I don't have to question, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's that. It was just difficult. Thinking back to, you know, the wedding day episodes, and he was saying, you know, his sister was saying, you fall in love really fast. And he said, yeah, you know, 8 weeks, that's not a problem. You know, I could fall in love in 24 hours. It just didn't happen with Brett. So it just goes to show, even someone who says, I can fall in love really quick, or I can fall in love with anybody, you put that wrong anybody in front of them, and it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving into the surprise bomb that was dropped. Before it was dropped, they had the chance to do, like, you know, the trip down memory lane. So they take each other either to like their childhood home or like a childhood spot where they spent a lot of time as kids, so they can open up and be vulnerable with each other. And that was great. Each spouse writes a letter to their younger self. And Brett has said, you know, Ryan, it's actually nice to see him in his element because he opens up. And I'm thinking, mental note, why were there not more opportunities provided? Or maybe we just didn't see them, where he could be in his element and they might have had a chance to have open and honest conversations because he would have been open and calm in those settings. Anyways, moving forward, I hate that we didn't get to see Brett's memory lane activity because she was like, you know what? Before I show you these pictures, let's talk about this. I got a text from one of my friends that says you're on a dating app and you matched with someone.
Wow.
And that was pretty much Ryan's response without the wow, just.
Well, I don't know.
Insert SpongeBob meme.
You good? You good though? All right, I'm gonna hit on now.
Stop.
Yeah, it was hard. Yeah, it was hard to watch.
Yeah, especially just there was like no ownership of all of it. It was, well, I downloaded the app, but not with the intention of it showing as active until after decision day. So, surprise, I'm gonna divorce you, and I've got this app already lined up to start matching like as soon as we say no and we leave the room on decision day. It's just, surprise, a week early.
Yeah.
I'm active and I'm matching. Oh, no, it's not. I don't know why it's registering as active. I'm sorry that it's registering as active. I'm sorry that I downloaded this app with 1 week to go.
He's not sorry. He's not sorry. It's just as plain as that.
Hey man, I didn't try it for 7 weeks.
He's not sorry. He
So
said
I'm window shopping.
Yeah, he said he sent a text, you know, and
right?
I give him, you know, a C for effort, or C minus, D plus, you know, for effort to try to follow up. You just bailed, you just walked out, so I give him that. But nah, I think that I remember earlier when they mentioned, or his sister mentioned, like maybe it's someone else. You might be interested in someone else.
Oh, she did.
Maybe that someone else could be someone in his imagination, you know, that, and the picture and the idea. I always say that. I tell my wife that in the past, I know what it's like to fall in love with the idea of being with someone, and then actually being with someone, and I actually love being with my wife. That's completely different from the idea, the daydream about it, and like what I imagine in my head. It's like, no, I actually love the actual reality, because what's in my head will never be realistic, or no one will be able to feel that place in your head. So you have to really, you know yourself enough to know what you do like, what you do want, and then also leave that headroom for actual day-to-day reality. And the idea of things, it could be a letdown, and for some people it could be a time of grieving, like I really thought it was going to be this, like, circle back for like a millisecond to Zack and Michaela. I think there's a huge difference between what you fell in love with your idea of what the marriage was going to look like, and then what it actually is like. And so for Ryan, it's like, bro, like whatever is in your head, man, like I don't know if anyone will ever match or meet those expectations. You have to actually fall in love with a person and everything they come with. And so I don't know, I think she's competing with whoever's in his head, and I don't even know if he knows.
We don't know, because there's a history of him falling in love really fast, and so I probably would have wanted to ask those questions. When you were in relationships, situationships, whatever you would like to call them, however long they lasted, and you noticed yourself falling in love, what was happening?
Yeah.
So like, give me that context. And then she can say, I can duplicate that, to the best of my ability, whatever that's going to look like with me putting myself in that situation or that equation, or I can't. But it's just, well, I don't know what you like. I don't know if you like me. Let's just not talk to each other about this, and we just remain stagnant. Until 7 weeks in, boom, dude's got a dating app.
Yeah.
And a match.
Yeah. It's sad to say something like that is not surprising. Just you could tell his attention was elsewhere, and I think Pastor Cal mentioned the same thing. Like, where you at? And when did you fall off?
Right.
So yeah, that I also think that sucks that his whole plan is now revealed accidentally. If you knew it was gonna be a no, bro, just, you know what, you're a really nice person. I hate to be the next guy that tells you this, but this pain is gonna definitely flee, and pale to comparison of like me just stringing you along, and then, hey, it's decision to yes and no.
No.
And then walking off the set. All right, cool. Now who did I met? It's like, nah, bro. Like, that's whack. That's whack.
Who are you texting right now? Oh, the woman that I'm gonna go have coffee with.
Yeah. What time is supposed to be over? Because I got a date at 7. I'm like, dude, what? So.
I have a prior engagement. But no, I'm still coming. We're still doing drinks. We're still doing it.
Oh, man. Yeah.
All right. Wrap it up, clap it up for Brett and Ryan.
Yeah.
All right, not clap it up. I'm sorry. That might have been snarky. Okay, moving on. Let's go to Mirla and Gil.
Okay. I'd keep it short. I know the video time is, eroding or lapsing, and
we want y'all to come back for more reviews, whether it's with us or just with me. So
yeah, and the battery,
yeah,
the camera. I'm just watching it.
Me too.
So to sum it up, I think what they're establishing is beautiful. I think that it's that nice, it's that good tension, it's that good growing in grace and compromise on both ends. That's the good work. It's not easy. It could be definitely frustrating, and all the emotions are definitely rightfully so there, but that's the good work. Marriages, they say, it's hard work. Yeah, that's the work that is the normal. You're coming together. You're two different people, and you're trying to figure out where that medium ground is on so many different layers of life and beliefs. And I think that where they are is, I think they're in a really good place to establish a firm foundation on communication and being transparent with each other. So I like that. I love his patience. I love Gil's patience, and I also love Mirla's openness to critique. I like the both.
Right. I like that Mirla even said to Dr. Pepper a point that I noticed. When they have to give each other constructive feedback, they are respectful of each other.
Yes.
They don't take jabs. Oh, picture perfect princess. Oh, well, you're just Mr. Frugal. You know, they don't do that. And I'm so thankful. Because that's hard to watch. Hard to watch people be pushed to their limits on television.
Yeah.
And then as viewers, we're expecting them to hold it together. No. Sometimes the only difference between your reaction and the reaction of a reality TV star is one or two choices.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they respect each other as people first and respect their feelings before they have to deliver, you know, difficult news or hard critiques. I would say my only concern was when Gil was going like in very deep with this vulnerable trip down memory lane exercise and showing her where he used to live, where his father was murdered, and then in comparison to, you know, Mira talking to him about how sports molded her into the person that she is today and how she likes nice things because she remembers that she came from poverty. He said, well, I don't want her to forget where she came from. And I'm thinking, I can understand that. However, wanting to continue to grow and elevate isn't the same, not always for every person, the same as I'm despising my humble beginnings. Like, I can appreciate the roots, but I want to be a tree.
Yeah. I think a really good example of the further extreme of that is a good friend of mine. And they know what it's like to literally live on almost nothing. You know, thank God they made it to the complete opposite end of the spectrum now, making multiple six figures a year. But deep down inside, they still mentally are in that space of like one bad move and we're bankrupt and we don't have anything. And they have to constantly remind themselves like, yo, we can actually go on vacation or financially in a place to be able to do that. But I think mentally still adjusting. It's been 6 years since that, 6 years plus. I think seeing something like that up close and personal, I can definitely understand the extreme ends of the spectrum. Was like, I know what it's like to be on the bottom. I'm never going to be there again. So I am going to save and I'm going to make sure that that never happens. And then I also can understand, man, I remember when I couldn't even buy one shoe. So I am going to treat myself because I work hard and I know exactly what I want. But one thing I'll say about marriages is that and that stuff, I think mental health and balance of both spouses, happy spouse, happy house, I think that's really dope. But there's a lot of, I can say for myself personally, a lot of my ambitions have shifted since being married and having a daughter of our own. A lot of my ambitions have now shifted from like, okay, what makes Jan happy to like family. And I can understand how that can communicate to Gil like, yo, you know, going on the shopping sprees doesn't communicate family. You know, I can understand where that misdirect is, but it's that balance where they're both going to have to compromise on finding that nice medium where she still gets to feel alive, be in a good mental headspace to be able to do these things,
Right.
And also be able to meet their goals as a family.
Right. Yeah. So both sides of the coin. You know, being able to understand both perspectives and how do we find that happy medium? Because one day they're saying they do want to have a family. So, like maybe you can go shopping, but maybe you're not spending as much. Like if you're going on frequent shopping trips, maybe Gil is saying maybe you just don't spend as much each shopping trip or whatever that's going to look like. And Mirla balancing him out like, hey, you work these 24-hour shifts. You need to take a vacation. And I don't want us to be staying in a hotel that doesn't accommodate us.
Yeah.
To where it feels like a vacation, as opposed to, man, if we was going to do this, we could have just stayed at home.
Yeah, motel.
So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's good to see that they are both sides of the coin and they're learning to balance each other out and work together as a team instead of fighting against each other.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Getting down to the last two. Let's go for Johnny and Bao.
Yeah, Johnny and Bao.
Bao.
You know, they... if Johnny was in a slightly different headspace, they could have really bonded. They have a lot of similarities, backgrounds, family dynamics, and embarrassing, sort of shameful on both in back, history lives of, family dynamics. And that was a moment that could have really, if they were in a good place and it led to that, they could have really been something serious. I mean, a very dynamic, understanding couple. But unfortunately, again, when you have a certain standard in your head of what that spouse is supposed to look like and do and whatever that reference is, it's like, it's always good to have a dope reference of a really good marriage, or at least what you can perceive from the exterior, and see the dynamic of give, take, and all that. And so it just sucks that Johnny is really turned off in a lot of areas because of his own. He's just getting in his own way, and I feel like Bao is in that position to really accept someone for who they are and decide to grow together. And I don't. It's hard to watch, man.
Right. This one pastor made a really good point. He said the reason why giving grace is so important is because if you don't give people a pass, then you don't get a pass. And in this episode, Bao was betrayed on both sides by someone she considered to be a friend.
That's right.
As well as her husband. And the friend had made all these comments about, well, I wouldn't date Bao. I wouldn't allow any of my friends to date Bao. Bao is the type of person that tears you down and rebuilds you into the person she wants you to be.
Wow.
And Bao admitted, I have made mistakes in my past and I have grown past that, and I am trying to be a better person. I'm trying to show up differently than I did before.
Yeah.
So to have that thrown back in her face by her husband, who got this knowledge from somebody else.
Right.
That was terrible. And it's like, okay, so Sarah, because you didn't give Bao a pass, like, be prepared for there not to be a pass given to you. Even if Bao doesn't go upside your head, or she doesn't, give you a scathing review, on the internet, it's going to come back. So anytime that you sow these negative seeds and you put that stuff out there, just know it's going to boomerang back. So that leads me into my next point: boundaries.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I don't know that Johnny and Bao are believers, but I would say one of the best pieces of advice I heard at a bridal shower was keep God in your marriage and keep people out. So friends, family, colleagues, mentors, whoever, y'all are going through rough patches, that is not the time to go and, hey, so how's the marriage going, bro? Oh, she's trash.
Yeah.
And let me tell you how she's trash. And then you wind up with individuals like Sarah, where they've seen this person in not so positive lights, and they can just add on to your definition of them being trash.
Yeah.
And now y'all just ragging on her, and she can't defend herself because she's not present for this secret conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Johnny wants a particular wife. And because Bao is a real person who does not show up in the way that he thinks that a wife should, he's having a really hard time and he's sabotaging this marriage. Whereas, Bao is acknowledging, I'm not perfect. I haven't done everything right. I'm not claiming to be perfect and that I do everything correctly. But I'm willing to try. I'm willing to be open. And just like she is allowing Johnny to be himself, it could definitely work if Johnny would allow her to be herself and be the best version of herself instead of the best whatever idea he might have in his mind that a wife should be.
Yeah, it goes back to that realization he had about his parents.
And him walking away from relationships easily because his parents chose to divorce.
Yeah, it really does start with your, it really starts with how you're raised and what you're familiar with, because that's your compass, that's your moral compass, spiritual, whatever. So growing up and seeing that, it's already creating a certain dysfunctional mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So I just hope that he can really revisit his past and be ready to love, be ready to actually give yourself, again, kind of goes to what we were saying earlier, about when you do the mental work and you're in a decent place within yourself that you can begin to grow from and grow with someone. That's where the magic happens. But when you are already, have perversion, which is things just simply being twisted of not how it's really supposed to be from a young age, it perverts everything. And now you have this unrealistic standard of what romance is. And the difference between reality and movies is movies don't show you the work that goes into that love scene. You just get they danced at a club, they had a good time, drinks and all that. But in real life, it actually builds up throughout the entire day, maybe the week, and leads up to that one moment. And so you're not used to that, and putting in that type of work, it's going to be hard for you.
Right. Real relationships are for real people. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to our last couple, Rachel and Jose.
He's so controlling. Oh man, no disrespect at all. It was. I love the way she said it. Like, yo, bro, it's our greatest strengths can be our greatest our greatest weakness, or really create the biggest pit for you to fall down. I can understand him being financially savvy and getting down and buckling down and being anal about it, led to him owning 2 homes. That's an accomplishment.
Yes.
So, but that same drive used with your wife is you can't control her.
No.
You can't control people, man. And you're going to get that pushback. And
right.
I love every time she does, because it's that reality of, like, this is a person, bro. Like, this is not just an app.
Man. Right.
Or, like, he had his calendar all laid out. I was like, when she get in there, she's literally just going to, like, set that thing on fire.
Pretty much. Just firing off. Like in one of the earlier episodes when he said, I worked really hard to get a really good credit score. You want to know what it is? 850. Like, she couldn't even, I think she was about to say, like, that's okay. Like, that's great that you take pride in the great credit score, because then you can just go and sign your name on the dotted line and purchase whatever you need to purchase.
Yeah.
But this is a woman. This is not a child that you are instructing that you have to lead and guide them, in the same way that you would a child. So
never gonna happen. Bro.
No, it's
never gonna happen.
So it was difficult watching when they're trying to connect. Sometimes it feels a little bit shallow, not in a materialistic sense, but more of the, okay, I feel like we're just scratching the surface. I would like to see a little bit more context. Yeah.
100%. We got the last drop of the battery. So, last thoughts for you?
Rachel's secret. So when Jose locked her out accidentally, put the deadbolt on, she admitted to him, like, hey, I got this secret. The night that you locked me out, I went and I stayed at my ex's house. Yeah. So I would just say my reaction to that would be, I'm not sure that I would have, well, you know what? I'm not even going to say not sure. I would not have, called the ex to pick me up. I would not have stayed at his house overnight. And I would not have kept that info until 2 weeks before decision day if I were in Rachel's shoes.
Yeah, I have the same thoughts. Literally. I don't have anything different. I feel the same. Yeah, and I know some people are looking at it like, Jose, you deserved it. But this is a marriage, and these are real people with real feelings. Okay, so yeah, the camera was like, you know what? I gave you a full charge and y'all was still going, so I'm out.
So iPhone 12 it is. To finish out Rachel and Jose. Yeah. I was saying that while sometimes, we might not always agree with how people show up in their marriages, we have to remember that while this is a reality TV show for us, this is someone's real life. They have real feelings. And I know a lot of the times it's really easy for us to go towards, cancel culture or, tit for tat and get people back when they hurt your feelings. However, when you're in that circumstance, would you want your spouse to have to deliver some heavy news to you? Like, yeah, remember that night that we were fighting? I went to my ex's house. And there's a history of cheating on Rachel's behalf. So
yeah,
Jose wasn't too keen on that when he found out about that on the honeymoon. Because he believes once a cheater, always a cheater. And you didn't just go spend the night at a friend's house or a family member's house.
Yeah.
When you guys were fighting, you went and spent the night at someone else's house who you were once romantically involved with.
Yeah.
Whatever that involvement looks like. So.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
And, ladies, we would have been ripping Jose a new one if it had been the opposite. If Rachel had locked him out and he went and spent the night at his ex-girlfriend's house. That would have been a problem.
Yeah.
A huge problem. Whereas some people on Twitter are like, I bet you won't lock her out again.
Man.
And it's like, but had he called her somebody else's name and she was not reasonable and flipped out and told him, you get out of this house and you do not come back tonight. I don't want to see you tonight. We can talk tomorrow. And he spent the night at an ex's house. Would we have been cheering Jose on? Maybe some people, but
yeah,
maybe some people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many more people would have given him kudos.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's always humbling watching, Married at First Sight and realizing, you know what? Marriage is a journey. It's a process. You never just arrive. You have to work at it every day.
Yeah.
And people are going to have their opinions about your marriage.
Absolutely.
And the only difference between some of us and these reality stars is we just didn't sign a contract to be filmed.
Yeah.
During the first 2 months of marriage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's pretty much all I had. I think you got really into the blood and guts of the latest episode. So
yeah. No, you did good too. I was like, oh, he got some points. Trying to check this stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that moving forward, they're just really gonna have to communicate and understand extremes and boundaries, like my wife mentioned. You have to establish those boundaries with each other, as far as respect goes, and then boundaries with other people, with how much info you give, and because you have a disagreement and you feel a certain type of way, that feeling is going to change within a few hours. And the, person or people who you disclose those feelings to, they're still where you left off. Mm-hmm. So it's always good to use wisdom. And obviously, in this case, it's never wise to lock your spouse out. That's just like a non-negotiable respect, foundational respect things. Like that's that should never happen. I don't care how upset you get. There's just certain things that just should not happen. So I think that she handled it well, despite all of the backlash and everything. As far as that, when she got back, now I didn't know. None of us knew about the ex situation. I don't think that was a wise move at all.
Just her and the ex knew that night, or. We just know Jose didn't know.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Like, yeah, he locked you out. That's, but in a marriage, like to stay with another ex, like that's another non-negotiable. So, we'll see what they're going to do on decision day.
Yeah. There's a lot of twists and turns. People that we thought would get a divorce for sure have said yes, and they have thriving marriages.
That's
People
right.
that we thought we're going to have thriving marriages have said no on decision day or shortly thereafter. So
Yeah.
the only people who get to decide who stays married are the husband and wife.
Yeah. Facts.
So regardless of how we feel and what we think people should do, they get to choose if this is going to be their spouse or not.
Mm-hmm. Straight up.
So if it triggers you a lot, maybe turn it off.
Yeah.
To see someone else make their own decision. Oh, you know, hey, we want the freedom to make our own choice. We got to let them make their choices too.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is her channel, so I'll let her do the closing.
Let me do the benediction.
And all that good stuff. Just honored to be on. And yeah, doing a phenomenal job. I see the productivity and the hard work that you're putting in. And the results are so amazing to watch. So congratulations on the channel.
Thank you.
Let you do the rest of the benediction.
All right. If you have enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a future post. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.
Peace.